get underway. Should call the regular meeting of Township Council for the purpose of a public hearing to order for Monday, May 27th. Of course, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, and in particular, acknowledge our valued relationships with the Kaitsi, Kwantlen, Matsqui, and Semiahmoo First Nations. With that, Mr. Richardson, would you please read the preamble?
A public hearing is a statutory requirement under Section 464 of the Local Government Act and must be held before third reading of a community plan, land use contract amendment bylaw, heritage designation bylaw, or heritage revitalization agreement bylaw. During a public hearing, council acts in a quasi-judicial role for the purpose of allowing persons who believe their interest in property is affected by a bylaw, permit, or other matter to make representations to council, either orally, by written submission, or to add comments to or elaborate upon correspondence that may have already been presented to council concerning the bylaws. It is important to note that council is not able to receive any additional information on the bylaws following the public hearing as dictated by case law. The hearing procedure involves an explanation from the Community Development Division on the purpose of the proposed bylaws and to hear from individuals regarding the bylaws. In order to ensure that all interested parties have a reasonable opportunity to be heard, speakers are requested to keep representations as brief and succinct as possible and no longer than 5 minutes in duration, excluding the time required for questions from council. Speakers will be asked to state their name, neighborhood, and city for the record. And if referring to prepared remarks, to submit copies of these to the township clerk. Decorum must be always maintained. This includes refraining from applause, booing, or heckling. To assist with large numbers of speakers, individuals must advise the township clerk and sign the speakers list prior to the commencement of the public hearing. The names on the speakers list will be read out during the hearing. Individuals who have already addressed council and wish to add further submissions will wait until the people that have not yet addressed council have had an opportunity to speak. All submissions and speaker lists are considered part of the public record. Council members should not express their views nor debate the bylaws. However, they may question speakers to clarify particular points in their submissions. Council may consider third reading or third reading and final adoption at this meeting or at its next regular meeting. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Moved by Councillor Rent, seconded by Councillor Ferguson. Call the question on A1. That carries unanimously. Mr. Richardson, item B1.
Well, thank you, Worship. The subject Northwest Langley Community Plan Amendment and rezoning applications pertain to a proposed residential development consisting of 3 single-family lots at 9828 203rd Street. The 0.36 acre site is designated low-density residential in the Northwest Langley Community Plan. This air photo depicts a site located on the east side of 203rd Street and north of 98th Avenue. Proposed Northwest Langley Community Amendment Bylaw 5955 accommodates a density of 8.4 units per acre on a site-specific basis within the site's low-density residential land use designation. Proposed rezoning bylaw 5956 amends the existing rural zone RU1 zoning to residential zone R1A to accommodate the 3 proposed single-family lots. Staff recommends support of subject Northwest Langley Community Plan Amendment Bylaw 5955 and rezoning bylaw 5956. Subject to 6 conditions listed on page 6 of council's agenda. Your worship, a total of 86 notices were mailed out. 1 written submission has been received, and there are no individuals noted on the speakers list.
And with that, are there any submissions from the public on item B1? And I still have to read these out, even though there's not a single person here that's going to speak to either item.
There is one person in the audience.
I'm not expecting any submissions, but we'll have to go through the process. Are there any submissions from the public on item B2? And for the third and final time, are there any submissions from the public on item B1? Sorry, not B2, B1, and for a third and final time. With that, I'll close the public hearing on item B1. I do not see the proponent here, so there'll be no submissions. Does anybody wish to move to consider third reading? Moved by Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Rint. Call the question on considering third reading. That carries unanimously. Does anybody wish to move third reading of B1? Moved by Councillor Pratt, seconded by Councillor Bailey. Is there any discussion on B1? Seeing none, Call the question on B1. That carries unanimously. Mr. Richardson, item B2.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. The subject will be community plan, Latimer neighborhood plan amendments and rezoning applications pertaining to a proposed residential development consisting of approximately 103 townhouse units at 20306 82nd Avenue. The 4.6 acre site is designated residential in the Willoughby Community Plan and single family in the Latimer neighborhood plan. This air photo depicts a site located on the south side of 82nd Avenue, east of 202 Street. Proposed plan amendment bylaw 6013 designates the site multifamily in the Willoughby Community Plan and row house townhouse in the Latimer neighborhood plan. Proposed rezoning bylaw 6014 amends the existing suburban residential 2 zoning to comprehensive development zone 131 to accommodate the proposed townhouse use. Staff recommends support of Willoughby Community Plan and Latimer neighborhood plan amendment bylaw 6013 and rezoning bylaw 6014. Set up to 9 conditions listed on page 7 of Council's agenda. Your Worship, a total of 837 notices were mailed out, no written submissions have been received, and there were no individuals noted on the speakers list.
Great. That, can I get any submissions from the public on item B2? For a second time, are there any submissions from the public on item B2? For a third and final time, are there any submissions from the public on item B2? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing for B2. Proponent is not present, so there'll be no explanations from the proponent. Does anybody wish to move, close the public hearing for B2 again? Does anybody wish to move consideration of third reading? Moved by Councillor Ferguson, seconded by Councillor Pratt. Call the question on consideration of B2. That carries unanimously. Does anybody wish to move third reading of B2? Moved by Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Pratt. Is there any discussion on B2? Seeing none, call the question on B2. That carries with Councillor Richter opposed. Motion to terminate, moved by Councillor Rint, seconded by Councillor Bailey. All those in favor, opposed, and that's carried. Thank you.